the advantages and disadvantages of universities.
You're going to college now. I hate to say it, but the threshold for college now is, I don't want to say low, but it's becoming so much more common that it dilutes the value of what. And listen, I say this as someone who didn't go to college. So I just think that so many people are going that it's less impressive. Now you need so much more than just a college degree. It's like, did you get a master's degree? Did you get your PhD? Do you have work experience? Do you donate all your extra time to charities as well? It's like you have to do so much to stand out.
A university qualification is good for opening certain doors. It's an entry.
Luck gets you in, hard work keeps you
there.
It's an entry-level card. In the same way that you are not allowed to drive a car without a driver's license, because the driver's license is the key for you actually owning a car eventually, the driver's license itself does not guarantee you owning a car. You can die without even ever owning a car, but having had a driver's license that you may not even use. So the qualification similarly is like that. It allows you to knock on certain doors and get the opportunities opened up for you without it necessarily guaranteeing the job. There are certain barriers to entry that are covered only by virtue of you having a particular qualification.
Now, I can imagine this from an administrator point of view, sitting on the other side, opening an envelope, expecting good marks. And then it's newspaper stuff all over the floor. Bongani Chabalala third in the 42 kilometers. Bongani Chabalala first on the 10 kilometers. Bongani Chabalala, Comrades Marathon, and all of that.
That was a great move from you. The idea that I may not be academically good, but I am valuable to some extent.
Yes.
And I think your institution will benefit from this other thing. And I think anyone who's going to hear your story, I hope it inspires them to be like, look, you may not be good academically, but tertiary institutions are not only academic institutions. I know we sell them as that.
Yes.
There are a lot of soccer players, rugby players, actors, etc., that have come from those spaces. And I think it also becomes a challenge to administrators to be like, if people are submitting their applications, look at the academics, but can they bring something else?
Yes.
So having a particular qualification will help you in terms of entering a specialized field. There are certain specialized fields that you cannot enter without actually having a qualification. Unfortunately, universities are expensive.
The scam is that you can only access the lent money for education. So you don't evaluate the true value of said education/money.
Over the years, they've become more and more costly. And because of that, we've questioned the value of these universities.
With an absolute lack of competition for the investment funds, the educational systems have spiraled costs ridiculously beyond inherent value, along with providing an unimpressive product. Zoom classes.
Your cost to benefit value that's provided. The number one expense that the majority of universities have worldwide is the fact that, just like government, the money goes towards the staff and the labor. Rather than towards improving the quality of education, it goes towards human resources.
College is very often a waste of time. Maybe you ought to just be going out and learning a career, apprenticing yourself, actually making something yourself.
I don't think it's a waste of time at all. I mean, higher education, we just completed, one of our Ramsey personalities, Chris Hogan, we just completed the largest study on millionaires ever done. We studied 10,165 of them. And the vast majority of them have a 4-year degree.
Universities allow you to go towards certain predetermined goals. So they don't set the goal for you. You set the goal yourself by saying, I am going to complete this 4-year degree. And that 4-year degree is something that you work towards. So they teach you a level of work ethic, but you then have to have that personal discipline and the commitment, and you have to decide and have faith in yourself that you are going to achieve based on the commitment that you make at the beginning. They put hurdles, obstacles, tests along the way that you have to pass, do your best in for you to get to the next level. Those are good life lessons around how to overcome certain obstacles and yes, strive forward through hard work, through dedication, through inquiry, because that's what research is all about, through being able to question certain things and working towards particular goals in the process, and being so goal-oriented that at the end, when you get that qualification, it becomes this overwhelming great thing that you actually get to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. They give you zero guarantees of employment, zero guarantees of return on investment. In a fair market, if people didn't make money with the educational systems they were taught, they'd simply stop investing.
So there's still often an outlook that sees university qualifications as this major milestone that guarantees you the best future. Perception actually matters. People will see you as more knowledgeable just because you have a master's degree, just because you mention that you have a PhD. Sometimes we often mention those accolades knowing that the reception that we receive from people will be of a positive nature. It will be something that we gain around societal recognition, societal prestige, access to certain things, and of course, just being recognized in terms of the weight of your opinion, which sometimes may not be fact.
I'm Armenian and I'm a Syrian, born and raised in Iran, right? I've done very well for myself. I've made a few $100 million, okay? But if I go sit down with my mom who's Armenian, she'll talk about one of her friend's daughters that got a 4-year degree, and I don't have a 4-year degree. So to her, success is a 4-year degree. To her, success is being a doctor. I don't have a PhD. I will never have any plans of getting a PhD or a master's or a bachelor's. So that doesn't change. You know, what is the difference between a person who goes to Harvard and gets a degree from Harvard where on the wall it says Harvard, but they're making $130 a year, versus a person who went to a community college, graduated from a small school, and built a business and sells it for $1.2 billion. In the eyes of an educator, Harvard gets more credibility. In the eyes of a doer, Forbes 400, you know, all the other stuff, of course, you're gonna look at the guy that's generated revenue.
Another disadvantage of universities is that they concentrate a lot on research funding. So that's why you find doctors and professors and those that have done their dissertations and theses writing more and more publications, research publications based on the research studies that they've undergone. Why that's important is because there's a lot of funding that's funneled towards the universities themselves. And therefore, it begs the question, are universities more of a business, or are universities actually central to the point of their being universities from the onset? Are they focused on developing society? Are they focused on being a non-profit organization that rather than focusing on money, they focus on the end goal of building society and making sure that the innovations that are introduced to the world are actually innovations that matter, innovations that will make a difference, innovations that from 10, 20 years from now will actually be more brilliant than just the innovations that are provided by entrepreneurship and the capitalist system. As it stands right now, it seems as if those that are the richest, the capitalists, those are offering more value towards society as a whole than what exactly universities are capable of offering, unfortunately, because of the viewpoints of universities.
Commercial Book of the Year. Brian Kaplan is an economics professor at George Mason University, and his new book is The Case Against Education.
In hanging with your peers, you also get to learn social cohesion. You get to communicate better, you get opportunities for problem solving, you get opportunities for leading in group activities, you get opportunities to be involved in political structures, you get opportunities to manage money, you get opportunities to learn, grow, you get opportunities to recognize when a person, for example, is being a teacher's pet, and you get to see whether that resonates with you, or integrity, work ethic, and merit is something that actually makes you thrive. When you are dealing with a specialist qualification, it can cause you to be one-dimensional. And the less important the qualification is in terms of the demand, because society itself will determine what is most important, what problems need to be solved, and what is it that needs to be worked towards within society. So unfortunately, university may make you one-dimensional and unilateral in your view of how things work in the world, and therefore leading you to a non-principled way of thinking. Principal way of thinking involves thinking out of the box and questioning what you may already know.
And education is very good at training people to do the same things that we've done over and over again. And I think there's always a question what the nature of the educational good is. You can say it's an investment good where you're investing in the future. You can say it's a consumption good, like college is a 4-year party. I think most of the parents and students think of it actually as an insurance policy where you're buying this really ever more expensive insurance so that the students don't fall through the really big cracks in our society, and we should be asking some big questions why the insurance costs are going up and up like that.
Another great advantage, which some may actually see as a disadvantage, is the fact that you get to compete with your peers. Competition is good so long as it's healthy. In a classroom environment, you get to compete, you get to be the top student, you get to outdo your performance from yesterday, but also the performance of your peers. You get to outshine, you get to stand out. That's a major advantage, preparing you for the actual work environment.
But there's more to college than simply the subjects that we learn. Do we need the subjects in college? Not really. Most of the stuff we'll study in college we won't need in our future, and it won't help us be successful. But we're learning more than that in school. We're learning how to interact with other people. For many of us, it's the first time we've left home. We're learning to fend for ourselves, do our own laundry, get a job, provide for ourselves, budget our money. That's a new one. For many people, they're living in dorms, they're learning to interact, they're learning independence, they're learning self-reliance. It's also the first time in a classroom where your professors will expect you to disagree. In high school, largely you do as you're told, you take the test and that's it. In college, it's about discussion and it's about disagreement, and sometimes there are no right answers. So one of the things you'll learn is how to disagree, how to form an argument. There is so much more that you learn in college that will help you in the rest of your life that have nothing to do with the subjects that you're going to learn. In other words, choose your classes based on the quality of your professors, not based on how easy the classes are, or sometimes even just what the subject is.
Universities are unfortunately slow to develop, slow to move forward, slow to throw in proper advances in technology and innovation. Universities are largely theory-based.
Well, oftentimes business education today, and I see it all the time, kids come out of college, the best colleges, Wharton and Harvard and Stanford and some of the great business schools, and they'll come out and they won't have practical experience. There's too many case studies that aren't practical.
So the practical side of what happens in the world, practically in the world, strategies to alleviate poverty, strategies to advance the human population, strategies to develop certain things. Unfortunately, capitalism is winning because universities may be focused on administrative functions rather than the bettering of the human goals and human societal priorities that exist.
Yes, college still has value in our lives.
Thank you for sticking around until the end. I appreciate you having watched the video, and I hope that you learned something. This information is actually pivotal for society right now because universities are seen as the be-all, end-all as far as education is concerned. But remember, there's a difference between schooling and education, and training and learning. So fizzle out all those terms because it's not just semantics. And then I'll see you on the next one. Perhaps I'll address those specific differences in the training and development of us as individuals. But ultimately, it starts with you. Cheers, guys.